Well, hello, everyone, at the Detroit Health Club with Moselle and company. I hope everybody's having a great day, and you want to learn a little bit about health. So we talked last week. The next talk I'm going to do is going to be about the thyroid. This talk, it will be about telomeres. What is a telomere? It's not a telephone, but a telomere. So, I guess you can telephone, tell a woman, or telomere. That's just a little joke I made up. So, my name's Dr. Bob McCauley. I'm up in Lansing, Michigan. If you haven't seen me before, I own the Watershed Wellness Center. I've been there 30 years. I've been at 2 different locations. Right now, I'm just a little bit west of the airport. Watershed.net is my website. YouTube, it's really Watershed 11 or Dr. Bob McCauley. That's my YouTube channel, the one you're watching now. So let's get right to it. I'll kind of go, as I go through, I'll tell you about a few different things that I've done through the years. I'm an author. I've written a lot of books. But what is a telomere? The telomere are nucleotides at the end of your chromosomes, and they can contain all this DNA information. And we won't get too technical because in the end, I'm not any kind of an expert in telomeres, but I do know how to keep them healthy. So they're at the end of your chromosomes, and then when your telomeres go away, that chromosome, that cell is going to die. So you need to have replication of the cells in a proper way. So we're going to talk about a few things that I suggest that you do to keep those telomeres in good shape and make sure that they don't get too short, because once they get too short, then that cell dies, and that's how you age. So there was a documentary a while ago called The Immortalists. You can look that up. I did a rebuttal to it. I think this is the medical professional, medical establishment, the scientific world trying to show us how we can live forever. We're going to play around with things. We're going to play around with nature, and we're going to fix those telomeres, so you're never going to die. So this is sort of that's why they call it the Immortalists. And there's just there's some TED Talks by this guy, and he's just going to save the world from dying through telomeres and giving us these these drugs, or I don't know what they are. He's given himself a lot of injections. But you can kind of take a look and see what the scientific world is, how they're approaching this. I'm approaching this through nutrition. So I'll just be clear about a few things. So how do you keep your telomeres, good and in good shape, and making sure that they are always rejuvenated? Well, you don't do it on a cooked food diet. You certainly don't do it on a junk food diet, like going to fast foods and eating a lot of fried foods. And of any kind, doesn't matter. Fried foods are just absolute poison. Frying makes the water taste great, but it's poison. So stay away from that at all costs. Frying your foods, and then fast foods, you don't even know what's in there half the time. Some of the horrors we're hearing about, that what they put in these fast foods. So stay out of the fast food joints. Me personally, I always say I haven't eaten anything out of a box or a jar or a can for it's been 40 years. I just don't buy anything. I mean, I go to the produce section, and that's pretty much it. So stay away from processed foods. You don't know what's in those foods. And so that a lot of it has to do with diet. So if you want your telomeres to be rejuvenated and looking good, and you stay healthy and live a long life and don't have your life cut short, well, then you want to live on a raw food diet. And the more raw fruits and vegetables you have, because the healthier you'll be, and the more telomeres you'll have. Why? Because they're full of enzymes. They're organic. They have a negative charge. They're alkaline. They alkalize the body. All raw fruits and vegetables have a rejuvenative property to them. So whereas you see all cooked foods, they really just provide us with sustenance, nothing more, nothing less, just sustenance. That's it. So at any rate, this is why I don't eat cooked foods. They taste good, but they're not the path to health. Now, the other thing you want to do, before we get to a few products, is you want to stay hydrated all the time. So if you wake up in the morning, you're drinking a cup of coffee, you're eating something, you're not staying hydrated. And so what you want to do is get up in the morning, have a big tall glass of water. It should be well-filtered water or spring water, but the best water of all is alkaline ionized water. I wrote one book called The Miraculous Properties of Ionized Water. That's on Audible, by the way. I've got 4 books on Audible. My latest book is The Cure in the Mirror, Nature's Protocol for Surviving Cancer. And so that's my cancer book. And then I've got one on silver and infectious diseases and how you can cure yourself of any infectious disease. And then I've got one. My latest one is called, the temple he was referring to with his body. About this is your temple. Your body's your temple, and when you get sick, it's because you started putting the wrong things. This is my cat. She won't leave me alone here. So when you put the wrong foods in your body on an ongoing basis, you're not honoring the temple. So if you're sick, it's because you're the cause. All disease comes from our diet. I was in church this morning, and the priest said, "Well, people just get cancer. We don't know why." Well, I know why. You put your body in a toxic environment, and cancer shows up eventually. You're no longer. These foods don't. This is a junk food guy, by the way, and so he kind of goes to a lot of fast food places. He loves pizza. I love pizza. But anyway, so those are the first things. And then, of course, where are you going to get your protein? Well, you can get it from the animal world, right? You can get it from meat, fish, eggs, and dairy, which these are inferior foods. They're just a middleman. There's nothing nutritious about them. We always cook those foods. We're back to cooking. If you were to eat them raw, you wouldn't get sick, but we never eat protein, meat, fish, eggs, or dairy raw. Very, very few instances, maybe sushi or something like that, but I wouldn't trust the fish that's out there these days. That's another issue. I wouldn't trust the meat you see in the supermarkets. That's another issue. Even if you went out and shot a deer and brought it home and processed it or whatever, that's the best kind of meat you're going to eat, but you're just eating a middleman. You're eating the food they're all vegetarians, so you're eating the food that ate the plants and taking them in. So if you want to keep those telomeres rejuvenated, that's where you want to start. Okay, make sure you take probiotics, the friendly bacteria. These are all things I promote and I sell myself, and I have for many, many years, and I'm learning more about it all the time. But let's get into a few products that would really, or a few things you could take that can really rejuvenate those telomeres. That's the first one. I'm going to say, in my favorite one is CGF, which is chlorella growth factor. This is the heart of chlorella. It is concentrated chlorella. It's 100 times concentrated chlorella. And that has a huge amount of nucleic acids. What are those? That's RNA and DNA. That's RNA. So nucleic acids are the blueprints to our cells. So when your cell goes to divide, if you don't have the RNA, well, they are just not going. You're not going to get the same copy as you had. You're going to get a diminished copy. It's like the old we used to have the mimeograph. And when if you took a mimeograph, it was like an early copier, and then you made a copy, and then you took that copy and you made another copy. You could see sometimes there had been like 20 or 30 different copy of a copy of a copy of a. Well, by the end, you could see, well, there's a really old copy of a mimeograph that's been copied many, many times. Well, that's what happens to your cells, and that's what's happened to your body. So this is why you see people when you get older, you get to be, you see 30 to 40, okay, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, and then suddenly, when you see 70 to 80, then people start dropping off the map. And then when you look at 90 to 100, now they're completely gone. They just drop right off. Well, they've lost all these. These diminished copies are just a faded copy of what they once were. You look at the elderly people. You're just a faded copy. You didn't replace the nucleic acids that you require in the body. The other place I get those is from a particular yeast that I sell. The name of the product is RNA, but it's Fragilis is the yeast, and it's got huge amount of nucleic acids in it. Pretty amazing stuff. I really don't know anyone else who sells it or has ever talked about it, but you can kind of look that up. You can look it on my shop site, shop.watershed.net, and you can see RNA, that product, and it's got huge amounts. It's a lot more less expensive than CGF, chlorella growth factor, which is really the best immune system builder in the world, by the way. So, but you're taking that chlorella cell and bringing it down. So, again, what I use for my protein, rather than animal protein, is spirulina and chlorella, the two most powerful foods in the world. And what we should use for our protein rather than animal protein, meat, fish, eggs, or dairy. So that's where I get my protein. And, people are just obsessed with meat. Anytime I make a video about meat, I get attacked. I mean, it's always been the same. And I tell people all the time, I don't care what you eat. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you put into your body. I'm talking about health. And they attack me, and meat is healthy, and meat is not healthy. And especially, as I said, we cook it. So this is not a healthy food. It's just sustenance. And then, there's, this CGF, chlorella growth factor, where we take the chlorella cell and then we get rid of everything except the nucleotides and nucleopeptides and the nucleic acids and the polyphenols, all these things that are just really, really high concentrations in the food. And so now you just concentrate that down. You take that. It's, like I said, the best immune system builder that I know of. And so I highly recommend you take that one. So that's chlorella growth factor. So this idea that, you have to give your body the cells, we're back to the chromosomes and the telomeres. If those are not fed, if you don't give yourself these high concentrations of nutrients, such as nucleic acids, these telomeres are just going to kind of go away, and, they're going to, get shorter and shorter. And again, when the telomere goes down to nothing, it's missing, then the cell dies. And so now you've got cell apoptosis, and that's a big problem because, again, and you can see as people lose those over the years, it's almost like a time clock. It's telling you you're going away. Well, you can always rejuvenate those. But it's not easy. You've got to stay on this kind of diet that I'm on, Mosella's on, Hiawatha, Cromer, she's on this, the raw food diet. It's, God grew an apple. We made a frying pan. You can improve on God's creation. So quit trying to do that. Just know that the best foods are already out there. God created an apple. That apple tastes good, but that apple pie, boy, I'll tell you something, that tastes fantastic, right? Well, it's all about the taste of your food. People, for the taste of their foods, that's what controls your destiny in the end. You love the taste of this hamburger so much, these French fries so much, that you allow them to make you sick. And then that controls your destiny instead of you. So the other thing I'll recommend is something called NAD. That's nucleotide monosaccharide, and it's NAD and NADH. So this is really nicotide. There's the riboside and there's monoxide, and then there's the NAD. This is what really rejuvenates the cell. And we're talking about the mitochondria. I have a product called Mitochondrial Renewal, and it's got NADH in it. It's got a couple of the precursors or the activators. You got to have those along with it. But this is what the mitochondria. This is end up where we produce ATP, and which is endosine triphosphate. That's where we get energy. So the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and this is what needs to be rejuvenated. Because again, we go back when that cell goes. Otherwise, these telomeres get shorter, and when the cell goes to divide, it's not there. So NAD or NADH, which has become kind of popular lately, and people are finding out about this more and more. You just got to keep feeding that cell NAD, and it takes a long time to build up. Not a long time, but you can do it within a few weeks. If you just take some NAD, it's going to make you feel pretty good. But you want to get, as you live on a raw food diet, your body is naturally, giving you NAD. But it's okay to supplement. Something I supplement with all the time is ribose. Ribose, and this is all related to each other. It kind of gets complicated, but I like to keep it simple because let's not get into the science of all this stuff, because who's really interested? I mean, I'm kind of a nerd about this stuff, but we want to know the short part of it is, what do I do? What do I put into my body so that I don't age? Well, NAD is one of them because that's feeding that mitochondria. It's called the name of my product is called Mitochondrial Renewal. And it's So what that does is the NAD reacts with the ribose, and the ribose is what you need to make your body's energy. So there's three things. There's something called endosine triphosphate, as I said, ATP, and what that is endosine molecule, and then triphosphate, three phosphate molecules, and then you put that together with ribose, which is this dextrose. It's found through every cell in your body, ribose. And as you get older, we live on the wrong diet. We live on home cooked foods, are really healthy. I had so many people through the years demanding that, we make right out of our garden, we take it, we've got healthy food, and we go out and shoot our own game and all this kind of stuff. Well, that's better than going into buying something in a box or a jar or a can. But when you cook it, it just, it's like really, not really terrible health food or junk food, but it's certainly, again, it's just sustenance. You've cooked the life out of it. It tastes better when you cook it, but I don't cook my food, and that's why. So I'm really determined to be healthy. By the way, I'm 65. I just turned 65 a couple weeks ago, still running a 6-minute mile. Because that's what I like to do. I like to run, but 6-minute mile. I mean, I could run a 5-minute mile if I kept training. I'm not really interested. I just like being in good shape, and this is what I can do at 65. I'm clear-headed. Last talk I did. The last one was, I think, in April or so. I talked about the brain. And how you feed the brain constantly. Alpha GPC is one of phosphatidylserine. These are just things that you feed the brain, so you're clear thinking. You've got to have that that brain fog has got to go away. And now we're talking about the other end of it, the telomeres. And is this mitochondrial health is so important to have that ATP. If you're tired all the time, first of all, supplement with ribose. Ribose is very, very inexpensive. I sell ribose. It's under the name Ribo Energy, and that's what it does. It's making this ATP. That's where you get energy in the body, in that mitochondria. And I'll tell you, a lot of people think, well, you're burning carbohydrates and you're turning them into sugar, and your body's burning the sugar. It's got nothing to do with that, nothing at all. ATP, that's the source of energy, and that's what we're talking about here when we're talking about the mitochondria, these chromosomes in these telomeres, that at the end of it that you've constantly got to rejuvenate. And so those are the two, NAD, okay, that product that I have, and so that's where we do. That one is, we get rejuvenation properties in that sense from those supplements. As we get into feeding that mitochondria and renewing it, and always giving it the nutrients it needs so it can rejuvenate itself and rejuvenate those telomeres. So you can grow those telomeres longer. But I guarantee you're not going to do it on a junk food or a cooked food diet. You've got to have the right water. You've got to have the right kind of protein, spirulina and chlorella. You don't need a lot of protein. If you take a small handful of spirulina and or chlorella with every meal, that's all the protein you need. And then if you want to eat meat, fish, eggs, or dairy, that's just for the taste. That's not going to do anything for you. And it's expensive, really. To live that way. It's really very expensive to live on a cooked food diet. When it comes to your health, people say, well, you got to spend all this money on raw foods. I can't afford it. You can't afford, first of all, it's not that expensive, but you can't afford to stay healthy. You've got nothing in life if you don't have your health. I mean, if you're laying in your deathbed, what good is, gee, I didn't spend the money to do what's right. Don't ever put a price on your health. That's what I think. That's my message. So another one I'd recommend is Mucuna pruriens. And that reason I like that, and I think that's the best herb in the world, Mucuna, M-U-C-U-N-A, Mucuna. I take it every night before I go to bed. I never miss. That's got L-Dopa, and it's the only herb that I really know of that has a large amount of L-Dopa. I promote and I sell a 15% concentration of L-Dopa. Well, that's what they give to Parkinson patients. And the reason they do that is because it feeds anybody with a neurological disease really, has these kind of problems. And they give them L-Dopa. Well, L-Dopa is a precursor to dopamine. So you're producing dopamine, and it makes you feel a little bit better. But the dopamine will eventually begin to produce melatonin, serotonin, all these things. And then eventually HGH, human growth hormone. And that is one of the big keys to longevity, is human growth hormone. Now, we produce that, or just people call it growth hormone. We call it HGH because it's human growth hormone, because you really can't get, BGH, bovine growth hormone. So that's for a cow. And so you can't really take this growth hormone out of anything and start giving it to yourself. You have to produce it in your body. It's like nitric oxide. You can't take nitric oxide. You can see all these products out there, nitric oxide, and they're going to make you work out. I take, what you need is L-arginine. That's an amino acid. I take that before every workout. That opens up those arteries. It's really excellent for that. So that's one of the most important things. And again, I take it right before I go to bed, because you produce HGH 1 hour after REM sleep, so after you've been dreaming, so about 1 hour afterwards, and then, or 2 hours afterwards, sorry, and then 1 hour after physical exercise. So when you're really working out hard, especially like you're weightlifting and you're running hard, I do it every single day. An hour later, you'll produce HGH. And if you have the L-Dopa there, and the mucuna, which is, again, I don't want to go out and buy L-Dopa. I know people that have Parkinson's, and they take this L-Dopa that's given to it. It's artificial, and they don't get any better. But I got another woman. She's got advanced Parkinson's, and she comes in and she buys huge amounts of this mucuna, and she's doing fantastic. And by the way, she went on a raw food diet. She's 75, so you got to give her credit. 75, went on a 100% raw food diet, and she said literally about 2 or 3 weeks after this, she came back into my store. She goes, "This is the first time in my life I have not been constipated. First time from just going on a raw food diet." So, and of course, as I said earlier, I promote other things too. Obviously, mineralization, the probiotics, the friendly bacteria, digestive enzymes, so you can break things down, fermented foods. These are all really good, and they're good for your overall health. But again, it always comes back to diet. People just want to live on the diet, the foods that they like to. They get up in the morning and they've been, eating Wheaties all these years. They've been eating, Cheerios all these years. These are just garbage products. I mean, they just fill you up in the morning. So, okay, so mucuna, that's another really important one. And one more that I would recommend is for longevity and for these telomeres and what they are, how we can rejuvenate them at a cellular level, is with the best product I know of. There's one called D-aspartic acid. You can look that one up, D-aspartic. But that will help you produce testosterone. But that's what you want. And the best way to do that is with Tongkat Ali. But you really got to look at from a hormone level, hormonal. So now we're into the hormones, and we want to produce testosterone. So just remember that everybody needs testosterone, and women need half the amount that men need, because men need testosterone, and then we have estrogen, and then women need estrogen and less testosterone. So, but you need both, because you cannot produce estrogen without testosterone. And by the way, just as an aside, completely avoid soy at all costs. Okay, this is really a terror. It's got a lot of estrogen in it. It's a different type of estrogen, so they say your body doesn't absorb this. Stay away from soy. It's one of the worst foods on the planet, no doubt about it. So, it's an emergency food. So if you were dying or something, you could take it. But as far as that, this is really a terrible food for so many different reasons. Phytohemoglutinins, PHG, that's, it's blood glue. So it just is something that really slows down mental functions. It's really bad for you. And it slows down, libido. So that what that's telling you is that it interferes with testosterone. Just as an aside, reishi mushroom, which is a great mushroom, it also interferes with testosterone. And it's good for cancer, all sorts of other things, but I don't take a lot of reishi because I want the testosterone. You can look at, if you show me your hormone profile, I will tell you what age you are internally. So in other words, you're 25 years old and I look at your hormone profile, I can say, well, that's like a 60-year-old man. And I can look at a 60-year-old man who, and this guy who's 25 lives on a junk food diet. He's already looking like 60 and he's 25, 30 years old. And vice versa, if somebody lives on a really good diet, they're 60, you look at those hormones And I can tell you right away, that guy, oh, that's like a 30-year-old. That's like a 25-year-old person. And it's all because of the hormones. The hormones are the conductors of the orchestra of your body. They're telling you what to do. This is why you don't want to drink milk. You're eating you're drinking or eating or whatever, the hormones of another species. I mean, that's what milk is, because that's why milk, it delivers hormones. The human body, the human milk, I should say, has 23, different hormones in it. Well, there's 46 in dairy milk. Okay, so what are those extra hormones doing in there? Even if it's all natural, it comes right off the, farm, it's next door, whatever. It's the best kind of milk. If you're going to drink it, you'd want to do it raw. But this is not, again, you're putting hormones into your body that, really just don't belong there, because, they're just, not meant for a human being. By the way, we're the only species that lives, drinks the milk of another species, and the only species that really on the planet that kind of drinks milk from another species. Like you look at cats, they always like to drink milk, that sort of thing. Well, look, they can't digest milk, and you see a lot of them that get sick right after they have it. So, keep your cats away from. We got 5 cats, I know. Keep your cats away from dairy products of any kind, because they don't really digest that when you're thinking maybe they are. So that's the other product is Tongkat Ali, because comes from a tree root in Malaysia. But that is that provides the most amount of testosterone for the body. And actually, what it does, it doesn't promote or the production of testosterone. What it does is it keeps it in its free form. And so you're always producing this testosterone, but as soon as it becomes bound, meaning it finds a receptor, now your body can't use it. And that's almost always what happens immediately is, you can't get this testosterone because it's immediately bound, whereas Tongkat Ali allows it to stay in that free form. So now you're getting testosterone. And that is one of the other keys to longevity. So that's about what I have to say about telomeres. It's a repetitive DNA sequence at the end of the chromosome. It keeps them from becoming tangled with each other, because once they become tangled, the chromosomes and everything, now they're just a mess, and you can't reproduce. You get a diminished copy of that cell. And that's what I said. So this is what you're trying to avoid. You want to keep everything. You should try to strive to be the person that you were when you were born. And as I said, down through the many, many years, you become a carbon copy of yourself, and a diminished copy, and a diminished copy, and a diminished copy. You even look at yourself as a young man, and then look at yourself as a young woman, and look at yourself as 70, 80, 90. You're saying, what's going on here? Because you're not rejuvenating that cell. So we talked about being on the right diet of raw fruits and vegetables. We talked about water, what kind of water to drink, and making sure you're sufficiently hydrated. That goes for the brain as well. Then we talked about spirulina and chlorella, making sure you get the right protein. Alkaline ionized water is the best water to drink. Living on a raw food diet, those are all really important. There's not any product or anything you can take. You can supplement and help, but you can't supplement your way to health. It all comes down to the diet. Then we talked about CGF, chlorella growth factor, or chlorella extract, that has huge amounts of nucleic acids. Also fragilis, which is a type of yeast that has huge amounts of RNA in it, nucleic acids, and that's for that cell, so it can. Those are the blueprints to your cell. Nucleic acids, RNA, that's the blueprints, and so whatever you're eating food that's got RNA in it, or being injected with anything with RNA, that's rewriting your DNA. It's rewriting your biological substructure and the substructure of the cell. Then we talked about NAD or NADH. Nicotinamide, and that is a really, really important thing that we need to to supplement with. I think, especially as we get older, it's become, as I said, Nicotinamide, adenitide, duonuclide. So forget about the pronunciations of all those things. I would recommend that you go out and get some NAD plus. There's a lot of different NADH. There's all sorts of different products out there. I sell one myself, and it's NAD. And again, as I said, that's called mitochondrial renewal because that feeds that mitochondria, that powerhouse of the cell. And that's what you're looking for. You really want to do that. That's all about the mitochondria. You can take ribose for that. And again, that's just like, it's a dextrose, it's sugar. You put that, take about a teaspoon a day. I do every day. I never miss it. And then you just take that, and that will give you that extra. You feel a lot more energy, and it doesn't give you energy immediately. It builds up over time. You really got to take it on a consistent basis. And that's the way, just always remember, folks, health is not an event. Health is a habit, okay? So you got to do it every single day. So, and you got to get these great habits. And then we talked about mucuna and HGH, human growth hormone, which again, it's going to help stimulate those, that telomere renewal, okay? And then, we talked about that one. Then we talked about testosterone. Testosterone, one of the keys, 3 big keys to longevity, that you really can take, and you can supplement with these things along with these other ones, the NADH or it's really NADH is the one you want the most, but all these help you keep renewed at a cellular level, because cellular health is human health. If your cells are not healthy, you will not be healthy. If you have, if your cells are healthy, you will be healthy. It's as simple as that. Cellular health equals human health. So it's all rejuvenating those on an ongoing basis. Listen, I hope you got a lot out of this talk today about telomeres and rejuvenation. That's a really important subject. I'm Dr. Bob, and I'll see you next time. Detroit Health Group. I love you guys down there. See you then. See you soon. Take care.